I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilman Alvarez, absent. Councilman Cullen.
Here.
Councilwoman Eckhart. Here. Councilwoman Hudak, absent. Supervisor Hay.
Here. Mr. Alvarez has delayed the, what bridge is closed? Newburgh Beacon Bridge is closed for about 6 hours, so he's not going to be able to get across this evening. He must have joined to Washington.
Get a hotel
Close to
there.
Delaware. And Ms. Hudak has an authorized absence this evening. Notation of exits in the front and the rear. Any type of electronic device, please put it on vibrate. We're going to start off tonight with a presentation for the award for Earth Day Art Contest winners. Our resident artist is going to do that.
Good evening, everyone. This is one of my favorite times of the year because this is the 4th year we've done this, and it really gets more and more successful. The student artwork really is exceptional. This was in reference to Earth Day, and we've had a poster contest every year, as I said. And before I present the art awards tonight, there are several people to thank. First and foremost, Irene Offmer. Irene is an art teacher at the Henry Wells Middle School, and without Irene, this event wouldn't exist. So, Irene, if you want to come up here, I'd like to give you a proclamation. You did not get a check, but you did get a proclamation. So, resolve the town board of the town of Southeast shall pause in its deliberations to recognize and commend Irene Offmer upon the occasion of her recognition of leadership in the 2015 Earth Day Art Contest, and to congratulate her, family, friends, and fellow associates who have shared in this special accomplishment, knowing that in doing so, she has encouraged others in many ways, both creatively, educationally, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
No, you're staying up here. Come back, come back. I'd also really like to thank Judy Morano and Dawn Willis from Studio Around the Corner. They put on an art show for the students every year, and you couldn't do it without them, and it is a beautiful space. So if you haven't been, I would really recommend it. The concerts, the art shows, it's a real little gem that we have. Also to Ms. Gosh, who is the Henry Wells principal and has joined us here tonight, and if she'd like to come up and help present, that would be fine. She isn't here. Okay, sorry. Okay. And I'd like to invite town board members to come down, because I'd love you to help hold up, and you too, Michelle, can you, please?
Oh, sure.
Because you could hold up the artwork. It's really terrific. As I said, it really just gets better every year. Yeah, you can pick your favorite.
Oh, that was one.
Uh-oh, big fight. Yeah.
Which is which?
Well, we're going to do honorable mention first, and when your honorable mention. The suspense is going to kill you. And if you could read this, the first person I'm going to recognize is Haley Bowser. I hope I said that right. And she did the wonderful pencil drawing. Maybe Michelle, do you want to just just flip it over and read what she wrote? I think you have to read into this. Sorry.
Stand up and walk. Keep moving forward. You've got 2 good legs, so use them. You're strong enough to make your own path.
Yes, it's really lovely. It's a great pencil drawing. So congratulations. Thank you so much. And make sure this is thank you. Our next honorable mention, and come stand over near your artwork, would be great. Thank you. Next honorable mention is Ashley Hopkins. Ashley did the wonderful collage of the tree, and we're going to have the supervisors holding yours, and he's going to. And you're going to read. We give it to the deputy. You have to read the front.
I do?
Yep. We're going to prove that you can read. Go ahead.
Okay. Nature's more colorful when you take care of it.
And it's really lovely. A really nice collage. So, congratulations. Yep. Okay. And let me give you.
Let them hold their own pieces now.
Yeah. Hold your own piece. Thank you.
I can't take credit for this because I can't draw.
And our first place winner is Alexis Koshinago. Did I pronounce that right or not? Kashigana? Yeah. I apologize. She did this very strong graphic design, which I think is really lovely. It really is terrific. And Bob's going to read that one for us.
Life is a bike ride. You don't fall unless you stop pedaling.
So, congratulations. It's really... You're welcome. Thank you. So, if anyone's taking pictures, feel free to come stand up. And, yeah. Yeah. So,
Come over and stand next to her.
yeah. Yes, come in here.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, now for the photo ops. Congratulations. So you can take your artwork with you. Thank you all so much. And
Pick up your artwork.
yes, and
Thank you very much.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, make a motion to continue the public hearing, proposed local law to implement the recommendations changed to the comprehensive plan. So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Public comment?
Nope.
Well, you know what, Mr. Lord, if you would, we're going to turn it this way so you can,
Yeah.
easier for you.
I'm sorry.
Maintenance man.
So I can face you instead. Great. Hi, my name is John Lord. I'm a resident of the town of Southeast. I saw in the attachments to tonight's meeting, the planning board made some recommendations on the comprehensive plan. And one of the recommendations I didn't think was a good idea was to leave the permitting the new or motor vehicle dealerships to be new and or used, not being a distinction in the zones that it was proposed for. And I don't think that the town should allow that interpretation. I think that if they're going to allow motor vehicle dealerships into certain zones, I think it should be for new motor vehicle dealerships, not for used cars as well. But that's my comment for tonight.
I was at one of the planning board meetings. We have work sessions, I think maybe once a month, down at 1 Main Street, and I attend as many as I can. Ms. Eckhart and attends as well. A person came in with a used car dealership, and I kind of had the same opinion, because in the old days, when you go by used car dealerships, cars weren't the best in the world, had prices of $100, and junks and nice cars, flags flying in the air, and they looked pretty ratty. However, this gentleman came in, he had a very high-end type used car dealerships. Probably cars that I know I probably couldn't afford, and I know the general public, because they were really expensive cars, $50,000, $60,000. So they fall into a used car category as well. So it's pretty tough to try to draw a fine line between what we know we don't want, possibly, and what we do want. So I don't have a problem with used car dealerships, but they have to have a little bit stricter standards than, say, a new car dealership, which is, at a higher standard, so to speak.
Yeah, I think the problem might be what their financial status might be, or what their financial, how much financial backing they have. If they went in and built a facility and then abandoned it after a short period of time, I would think that the town might be in danger of having an unsightly location. With new car dealerships, most of them are backed by a vehicle or a brand. And I think that the town would be better protected in those circumstances.
Well, I believe we have a very strong planning board, and I know the architectural review board really has very high standards as well, and I think that concern would not be a problem in town, in this town at least.
Okay, well, those are my comments, though.
Okay,
And
Thank you.
A lot of people, when they lease cars for 2 years, they return them, and they're known as certified pre-owned.
Yeah.
And they are backed by the dealer, and they are dealers, but technically they use cars. Right over on Mill Plain Road in Danbury, there's a certified pre-owned dealership, Weeks something. I mean, to me, that's a beautiful building. I don't know if you ever saw it, and all the cars are used, but they're not, $100 cars.
I have to disagree on this. I agree with Mr. Lord. My major concern here is that we have under 138-63.9, a motor vehicle dealerships in existence prior to 2004 should be considered legally pre-existing non-conforming. And then it says improvements to said dealership shall be required to comply with the following criteria to the greatest extent practicable given the existing lot size, road frontage, and other dimensional constraints. Now, if, and I'm not picking on any one dealer, but if Ford, in the Brewster Ford, the Subaru dealership, or Brady Standard, if these became used car lots, I think that's a really different story. I think we could have some, because it's not feasible to redo, to come into compliance with our other standards. I think it's a gateway to the village, and it's a gateway for us off 684. So I do have really major concerns about the used car dealerships. I certainly have no problem at all with used cars being sold by dealers. I know that's how they make a lot of their money. Another problem with this was off-site new vehicle storage for automobile dealerships. I didn't know, and Ashley can answer this later, and it does say new vehicle storage. I wanted to make sure that that would not pertain to even certified pre-owned, because it gets into a real sketchy area of what's certified pre-owned, I think, or it can.
well, I'm not gonna stick to that word of certified pre-owned, that's just
Right.
something that certain dealerships are using or certain manufacturers are using, but,
It's marketing.
Right.
Well,
So,
they give a warranty,
yeah.
yeah.
like a new car.
I know what they're trying to accomplish,
Right.
but it's more difficult. It's like going to a junkyard, buying a car, and going to a really fancy dealership. The one you just mentioned, I didn't even know that they were used cars,
Yeah,
because they
they're
look
beautiful.
really high-end and look really nice.
So I have serious concerns, especially with the pre-existing dealerships about this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Answer Lynn's question quickly.
Thanks.
Yes, as drafted, it would, any off-site storage of vehicles would be limited to new vehicles. And that was something that the planning board supported as well. In their recommendation, it was purely to the sales operation.
And was that
on-site.
still left at 50% of the lot size?
No, there were no, they didn't make any recommendations to the.
Change that?
To change that part of the code,
Okay.
or the proposed.
So it would remain there, okay.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Ann Finizzi. I think the situation that just was presented just demonstrates what I have said through all these public hearings, that what we really need is a reconstituted comprehensive planning committee that would carefully consider all the ramifications of any of the new proposals that have been proposed and not yet adopted. I see this differentiation of used and new and so forth and so on just ripe for litigation. Just have someone come and say, I'm a used car dealer, and you have a code which says that I can have a business in this particular zone, and now deny me. Anyway, it is only one of the weeds, as I term it, and it is really a shame because all we have really is not since we ended the last meeting, a true conversation between residents and town officials over the various aspects and huge changes, some of which are a complete repudiation of the previous comprehensive plan that three separate administrations initiated, adopted, worked, and even the head of AKRF, Graham Trelshed, he was the one. He was the one who proposed all of the previous comprehensive planning, and I'm at a loss as to how a subordinate can now stand here and adopt and a diametrically opposite view and vision of what Mr. Trelshed had worked long and hard. Not 1 month, not 2 months, not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years, not 4 years. Because, and he worked, and he not only worked competently, but he was also a guide, so that if there were ideas that really did not conform to good planning, he said so. I regret to say I did not hear this. I just want to read again what the courts have said. In fact, I have a new book, and it's another in my lecture series, All You Wanted to Know About Zoning. And on page 337, it says that the courts have said that it reflects the needs of the community. Reflects the needs of the community. And the community has spoken. It has spoken that it does not want and discourages certain types of business in certain locations, and it's ignored. It's ignored by our elected officials. And that's shocking to me, absolutely shocking. And it says that the plan should be studied, an amendment which has been carefully studied, prepared, considered, meets the general requirement of a well-considered plan. This plan is not well-considered. It needs a lot of work. And again, the other thing I want to just simply say is that the outdoor storage is a real issue. All one has to do is to walk up and down Carmel on Route 6, and you will see what outdoor storage has done to that community. All you have to do is to look at Meadowland, which has used cars and new cars and a service station on top of it. Acres upon acres have been gobbled up by that business. They have a right to do it because there is nothing in the code preventing them from spreading out even to, I don't know, Tilly Foster, for all I know. The other thing is, I would like to see that there would be compatibility and appropriateness of uses for that particular code and in that particular area. There are a whole bunch of uses. And I said, if I made a diagram and put all the uses, would this demonstrate to me compatibility, coherent planning? It did not. I was in Richfield over the weekend. It was a pleasure. Highly developed town, but it was a pleasure. I did not see outdoor storage. I did not see used car dealerships. I didn't even see new. Maybe they are along Route 7 or whatever. I did not see it in the town. I did not see it. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I'm going to make a motion to continue.
I have things.
You do?
Yes. Sorry.
Go.
Okay. I'll need Ashley, please, up here for some just quick questions. The one thing that I think is really key too is interconnections between properties, because I think we've made a lot of mistakes in the past on Route 22. Is it forceful on page 4 under B? It says interconnection between properties or shared driveways shall be provided whenever possible, and so shall is pretty strong. And it also, I think, on page 6 mentions it again. I just want to make sure that that is something, if we're going to develop out there, that I think is really key. And is this language strong enough for that?
Yes, I think it is.
Okay.
What we also did in Route 22 to further support that was come up with a conceptual layout of the bypass road.
Mhm.
That is something you could do here as well, if you wanted to pursue that.
Okay.
It's not as, a lot of the properties are more narrow in this section than they are versus Route 22.
Right. I just think, obviously, there'll be as few curb cuts as we can have, but
Right.
it's a real difficulty, obviously, because of the 4-lane road. And so, to me, it's pretty essential to have good access.
Right, so what we could do is more specifically say that stub-end streets should be provided.
Okay.
So what?
Stub-end streets, so
Yes.
wherever it's reasonable, away from a wetland, certain, distance from the entranceway, you'd have basically a dead end that would run right up to the property line, and that would be where a future developer could connect to with their parking lot.
So it's there and people can see that it's already there. I mean, in other words, the buyer of the property next door would be aware of it, because the road would be partially in. It's a stub, it's a little
It's just a
stub.
stub, and, I mean, it's so that when that future property is developed, the parking lots are connected, so people wouldn't have to drive back out onto Route 6 and come back into the next lot down,
Right.
and it would keep traffic off of Route 6.
I just don't want to hear another connector road or a bypass road, because that ain't happening.
No, that's not at all.
This wouldn't necessarily be a connector road or a bypass, it would just be, whatever development goes in first would have to provide this, and then the next developer should connect to it.
So in other words, people wouldn't be forced to get back out on Route 6 and come back in. They could go behind.
If you can
So-
get the neighboring property to do that, we're going to.
Well, that's what we're trying to do
Right.
in this document, I think, correct?
Yes.
And then I only have one other thing. I forgot when we were discussing the used cars on page 11L, it says no more than 10% of the total lot area shall be dedicated to used or pre-owned vehicles, sales and storage. Obviously, then that's going
That's new cars, I believe.
Well, so
Yes,
that
that
was
was-
the provision that
yes.
was added to the draft after
Right.
one of the earlier town board meetings, and that is the provision that the planning board would like removed.
Yeah,
They want it removed. To-
Right.
To what level?
They don't want
Totally.
any restrictions
Restrictions.
on new versus used.
So if you're gonna have a pre-owned dealership, that's what they sell.
The planning board felt that there were enough design considerations built into the special permit conditions that would prevent, sort of the stereotypical old used car lot from being developed, especially the minimum lot size of 15 acres.
but I will say, I didn't hear it being at that meeting, but I might have missed it. I don't think the older pre-existing dealerships were discussed.
They did not discuss the pre-existing dealerships.
Yeah. And those have much more potential to potentially become unattractive used car dealerships, just because of, they're so limited on what they can do with the amount of land, property they own, that's all.
Anything else?
Nope,
Okay, I'm going to make a motion to.
I think someone, though, wants to speak.
One of the things that I looked for, and again, I didn't find, is the protection of residences from commercial businesses. And so far, I think it's 50 feet that we have. No change was made to protect residents. And since we are the taxpayers of this town, I would think that we would at least explore expanding the number of feet. 50 feet is nothing, practically from here to there. And when you have certain businesses, such as used cars with lights, and even new cars with lights, you have to protect residences. And since there doesn't seem to have been an effort, perhaps you might want to take a look at the expansion of feet and/or the enforcement of landscaping or burns or things of this kind. Certainly, we still have Brewster Honda facing us, and that will be a model for us. Okay.
I think I agree with what you're saying, because I think we should learn from Brewster Honda that it is very close to a neighborhood. I think our restrictions for landscaping, that's one thing I think is pretty good. Ashley might want to address, can you address the question of what other towns tend to do as far as separating residential from commercial?
Because that's one thing I noted in Richfield. And other northern Westchester towns, we should take them as models rather than perhaps other areas. And I know that happens, by the way, in Carmel, and I've been to Carmel planning and town board meetings where that has come up.
So actually, in Southeast, there are variable setbacks, and there are, for certain special permit requirements, enhanced setbacks when you're adjacent to a residential zoning district. So that is something that exists in the code today, and that is not proposed to be changed in the code, that those enhanced setbacks for residential buffers would remain. And the planning board has further recommended that we look at other areas where we could enhance residential buffers. So that's certainly something that is up for discussion, and we can look at where special permits could require greater buffers.
Thank you.
I just want to respond.
No, if you come to respond, just come up to the mic.
I think Ms. Eckhart was very clear on a point of conditional permits and special permits. I have never known a special permit to be denied. I think that in terms of protecting residents, there should be an expansion of that minimum area. And never mind, we'll look at the special permits. I've yet to see a special permit denied. And this is a sham and a charade. I don't think we should play, with people's investments and people's lives and people's property. Some of us live in neighborhoods that are already protected. Some of us don't.
Well, I'd like to say one thing. When you live and buy a piece of land, you know who you're living next to. If it's a commercial piece and you're next to a residential, it's residential commercial.
You know what? I wish that standard were applied to all applicants that walk in here and ask for a zoning code.
It may someday, you never know. Okay, is the board ready? Public, anyone from the public?
We're
On
gonna
what?
continue it, right?
I'm gonna,
Continue.
I've already tried 3 times, so now it's gonna be the last, hopefully. Okay. A motion to continue the public hearing to Thursday, June 4th, 2015. Ashley's not available for the next meeting.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So again, Thursday, June 4th. It will not be at the next meeting.
Ashley, before then, would it be possible to get us some information on buffers? I mean, what other towns find successful, and because I do think the special permit thing really isn't enough protection. I agree with Tony to a degree, but
I can provide you with what you have in your code today, and then what some typical buffers for,
Okay.
I can look at Ridgefield as well as North Salem and some other.
is that okay? It would help me along.
Yep.
Okay.
Again, I mean, people have to realize, I mean, no matter where you buy, I mean, oh, they're doing this. Well, I hate to say it, where Brewster Honda is, there was always something there. And unfortunately, for 20 years, it was inactive. And then someone activated it, okay? And what do you do? I mean, the person has a right that owns the property, it's zone residential, commercial. It's a very narrow piece, and unfortunately, there's a disturbance between the two somehow. And hopefully, they will take into consideration through buffers or whatever they can possibly do, or landscaping. Sometimes it can't be done though. And I know One area in particular is up on North Brewster Road, the end of North Brewster Road and 312. I mean, it collides right there, right across the street. You have all residential homes, and the other side, you've got 5 or 6 businesses. So it's not an easy task, and you can't say 50 feet because they probably only have 50 feet to work with. It's a pre-existing non-conforming lots that really cause the most problem. If it's a larger lot, like where State Line is, it's a much larger lot, and you can have greater restrictions on it. But if you have a pre-existing non-conforming lot, even the one that I had was a 2-acre lot. It was one point in time 2.5 acres, and 84 came through and took, half an acre from that particular parcel. And then next door to me was light manufacturing. Someone went in next door, was owned commercial, they did something. Next to them, they did something. Now you have a vacant piece, and you go down the road, and there's a guy that fixes cars, and it used to be a car dealership, a Saab car dealership in the old days. So it sounds easy, but it's not.
I would also like to point out that from a planning perspective, it is good to have variable buffers with larger buffers for uses that have the most potential for an impact on a residential area. So that's why they're oftentimes tied to a conditional use permit or a special permit, and that is a minimum requirement in order for that permit to be granted. So the permit would not be permitted to be granted if they can't meet that requirement. And unless, such as in the case of Grace Assembly, that was where you actually had a 300-foot buffer that was in the code, and this board had to specifically authorize that applicant to go to the Zoning Board of Appeals to get that variance. In other situations, I think the smallest buffer currently in the code is around 50 feet, and that would be the bare minimum that's in the zoning table itself, with variable buffers up to 300 feet.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ashley.
Okay, I make a motion to go into a work session.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Discussion on the MS4 report. I have it here provided to you for the public. We're going to have a public hearing on this, which I'll do momentarily under the regular meeting. The MS4 is a regulation that's quite a project for each town. It's one of those unfunded mandates from New York State to the towns. With our limited resources, I think we're doing a fairly good job keeping ahead of the curve. So this will be posted on the web as of tomorrow night, and on the 21st, which I'll be making a motion shortly for the public hearing. It's not an exciting thing that most people come out for, but it'll be on the web if you have any questions to ask on it. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. And if I ask you guys, if you don't mind, can you hand me back these? Unless you want to keep them, you promise to bring them next meeting, because I know we're going to waste tons of paper. Okay,
Well, I'll just bring it.
okay, and it'll be on the web as well, okay?
I'll wait. I don't throw it
A motion to go into the regular portion of our meeting?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, first is a motion to set a public hearing for the MS4 annual report for Thursday, May 21st, 2015.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, number 2, resolution, Leah Brewster LLC, doing business as Brewster Honda, special permit extension. Resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby extends a special permit to Route 22 Leah Realty LLC upon the same terms and conditions as granted by resolution of this board adopted April 3, 2014, for a period of 1 year. And be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby authorized and directed to forward a certified copy of this resolution to Route 22 Leah Realty LLC, owner of the subject premises, the secretary of the town Southeast Planning Board, and to the building inspector of the town of Southeast forthwith. So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 3, resolution for WB New York Southeast Parking, ARB recommendation. Resolved that the town board hereby accepts and approves the report of the Architectural Review Board dated April 23, 2015, a copy of which is annexed hereto, made part hereof in connection with the application of WB New York LLC Southeast Parking, and that such report shall be incorporated in any final site plan subsequently reviewed by the planning board. So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, resolution, reestablish of an existing performance bond for erosion and sediment control and site stabilization for 6 Southeast Corp. Now therefore be resolved that the bond amount for the following project is set as follows. Project name, 6 Southeast Corp., formerly known as Millennium Site Plan. Soil and erosion control restoration, $23,574. Site improvements, $25,600. Resolved that prior to the issuance of the building permit and commencement of construction, developer shall pay all required inspection fees associated with the project, and be further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to forward a copy of this resolution to the applicant, the secretary of the planning board, and the building inspector forthwith. So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion.
Just so people know, this is Cameron's Deli, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
and they're doing quite well, and I'm glad to see that they're doing well. All in favor?
Aye.
Number 5, establishment of performance bond for erosion and sediment control and site stabilization, Grace Assembly of God. Resolved that the bond amount shall be established for the project set forth below. Project name, Grace Assembly of God. Site improvements, $55,000. Erosion and sediment, $8,900. And be further resolved that the certified copy of this resolution be transmitted by the town clerk to the planning board secretary and building inspector forthwith. So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 6, it's a motion to accept the negative declaration for the digital policy.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Along with that comes the short environment assessment form. We moved that as well.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
it. Aye.
R7, our resolution number 7, local law to amend chapter 138 zoning digital policy. Now therefore be resolved that the town board of the town of Southeast hereby adopts local law number, which Michelle will give us the number eventually, of 2015 pursuant to municipal home rule to amend chapter 138 of the town code zoning, to amend the planning board submission requirements, and to implement a digital policy, and to be further resolved that the town clerk be and hereby is authorized and directed to A, enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting in the code book of the town of Southeast, and B, give due notice of the adoption of said local law by filing such with the Secretary of State of New York within the required time by law. So moved.
I'll second it.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Number 8, resolution declare lead agency local law to amend chapter 96 noise. Now therefore it be resolved that pursuant to 617.6B1 of the State Environmental Review Act, SECRA, the town board of the town of Southeast hereby declares itself lead agency for purpose of SECRA for the unlisted action. So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And number 9.
Two of those.
Let's see, timeout. You got 2 of those in your package, that's weird.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. That's why I want the paperback, I wasted some. Okay, number 9. It's a motion to adopt the negative declaration, amend chapter 96 noise. I move. Second.
I'll second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
You know, we'll have a public hearing on that at the next meeting. Recognition of the public.
I haven't kept current really on the Grace Assembly of God situation, but I want to just ask about the noise. Have there been efforts by the town to determine exactly the decibel level of certain services from Grace Assembly?
It's not just Grace Assembly, but it's a town code.
No, but I'm referring to Grace Assembly.
They are like any other entity in the town. There's a decibel for, I don't know what the exact number is, but they're all the same. There's no different.
They
If
have to
exceed
comply.
Right, what I'm asking was that prior to this, was there an effort made by the town to determine the decibel level of services? Because the pavilion, from what I've been told, is closed on 2 sides and open on 2 sides. And there are residences encircling that particular property. So were there efforts made to determine the noise level of services, and that would travel across that particular piece of property to the residents?
Maybe I didn't make myself clear. Let me try one more time.
She's saying,
I
I
know
guess,
what she's
like,
trying to- I know what
did we
she's-
do any tests or
We-
anything?
we-
Yeah, good. Yeah,
Right.
did you, that's right. Thank
I
you
would
so
say-
much.
I would-
No,
I'm
like, did
kind
we
of
test or
I'm kind of
something?
clumsy on that.
Time, look, the answer to that is no.
Oh, okay,
we
that's
don't-
all I wanted to
But
know.
any other facility that goes in the town, it's the same, so it wouldn't matter. If they violate it, there's a penalty.
I understand that portion. What I'm saying,
Right.
I know what you're saying, but
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Was there a test done prior to this? Not that it was particular and peculiar to them, but there are certain decibel levels that are calibrated according, as you well know. I don't have to.
Well,
I
car
don't have to go in.
dealerships,
So I
face
thought.
the same.
Excuse me.
Car dealerships, anything faces the same
No,
decibel
but the
level.
decibel levels say for various businesses.
No,
and
ma'am,
for
it does not.
And are different, are different.
They are not. No,
They're
ma'am.
different.
They are not different.
That-
The
I
decibel-
think what Mr. Hay is trying to say is that we have a decibel level that you cannot exceed,
Right,
okay? And if the same restriction or regulation would apply to Grace Assembly of God
Right.
as it would to a automobile
yeah. I think
repair
we're
shop.
speaking English, but we're not understanding.
And you were a
exactly-
teacher.
Well, yeah, I can't, as a student, you should, I'm a poor teacher. But when you have the decimal levels, they'll say, for example, 20 decimal levels equals a tractor. 40 decimal levels equals and so forth and so on. So forth, and music equals so forth and so on. Yes, they have it.
Not real, I know what you're saying, but it depends on how loud the music is. You have a car with a muffler and you got a car without a muffler.
I think the town also would want to be very careful not to single out an institution to do anything. Because they have to comply with everything.
Right. It's just that when you have certain developments, I know that residents have at times, on their own, gotten these, calibrated, that they can determine the noise level that would be from a particular business or whatever.
Well, there are now apps on their iPhones, apparently,
Yes.
and smartphones that
Thanks
will
to Ashley, we
record
found that out.
the decibel level, so everyone can take, almost everyone anyway,
Yeah,
so.
okay. No, because the issue was brought up to me.
But
So
once
I
it,
just wanted to
I guess once
clarify
it's
that.
built and they start,
Right.
if
Yeah.
it's too loud, they're gonna have to turn down the amplifier or whatever
Yeah.
so that it meets
Yeah.
code, but.
But currently, they,
Right, they never did any
and not to
testing
pick
or
on this
anything.
particular, but
No.
it just
Right.
happens to.
No, and it was
to come-
interesting because so many residents over there hear football games already and things from the school.
Right, and they were complaining because of the noise of coming from that particular activity. Okay.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? The board?
No.
Well, I have a couple of quick things I want to show the public. It's my home movies, come on, jeez,
Your house,
I don't ever go anywhere. I wish it was that simple. For the past 4 weeks, every weekend, one of our facilities has been destroyed by somebody. I don't know the age of the person, can't say for sure they're from Southeast, but all things lead toward it's probably some from Southeast. Scalpino Park, Markel. We suffer each year anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 in vandalism costs to this town. Insurance doesn't pick it up because it's $1,000 minimum. I don't know why people do what they do, it just doesn't make sense. But it's someone's children, it's someone's young adult, or it's some adult. But I believe, most likely, they live here in the town of Southeast, and it's quite disturbing. These pictures here aren't the clearest in the world, but this is for the water district in Blackberry Hill. And someone has taken upon themselves to use it as an ATV ramp. They've done tremendous amount of damage there. Now, when this damage is done, now this damage is going to be not a physical damage like this here, but now it's going to have to be completely fenced, okay? It had an exemption for the longest time, but that exemption is now gone. they have to fence it. And the people of Blackberry Hill, and most likely it's someone in that area or thereabouts, maybe contiguous property, don't know. But the bottom line is, they're ATVing all over this. I mean, look at this here. I mean, one, they could get killed. You don't know what they're wearing. You don't know if they have helmets on or not. They're going up these steep areas, and they're just destroying the place. So, all I can ask any resident, if you see anyone on our ball fields, sewer plants, water plants, please call the police, state police, sheriff's department. The chance of catching someone on an ATV is little to none, but I believe it's gonna cost probably $25,000 to $30,000 to fence in this property to keep ATVs off. And the people in Blackberry Hill pick up the expense, not the taxpayers of the town, and there's a lot less people living in Blackberry than the entire town. And it just gotta stop. So, this is what they're doing. It really is not good. Now, this was about a month ago this took place. Again, it doesn't affect the entire town, only a portion of the town, but the residents of Blackberry Hill are the ones that end up paying the price on that. Now we're into, let's see, Markel Park. For some strange reason, they love the bathrooms down there. I don't think they like to use them. They like to break the doors down, okay? So this is the first incident. This was about 3 weeks ago. Last year, they did it, I think, maybe 3 times. We have certain cameras in certain areas, but you know what? You know, we can't afford these real expensive cameras that can zoom in after the fact. We can't afford them. And they knocked the legs off the sink. They broke the door again. I think this is about the 3rd or 4th door that we've put on there. And it really looks like hell when you have to put a padlock on them to keep them out. It's just getting worse and worse and worse. And I just don't know what's wrong with people. Now, this is a more recent one. This was this past weekend. And they're destroying towels. You know, people go in and want to wash their hands. They want to dry them off, you know, instead of cleaning on their pants. And this is what they're doing to it. I mean, this is just this past weekend. And, you know, enough is enough. It's getting to the point of being crazy. Now, you can see they try to take a match to this. Now, eventually they're going to probably burn the place down. Then we'll collect the insurance. But you know what? It's just, I don't know why they have to do this. There's the sink. So we have to buy another sink. And it's going on every year. Every year we have to do this. And I wish we could catch them. Nice toilet, huh? I mean, I don't know what they get out of it. I don't know what they're doing it with. We're not finding rocks. We don't know if they're bringing sledgehammers, crowbars. But, you know, this is the kind of damage, and this was just this past weekend. Now, this is the Bristol Little League field. 1 week after the fields were already prepared for the season, look what somebody did. They drove a damn truck in there. Look at this. Now look at, little kids don't run or as heavy as us older folks, so to speak. But I'm telling you right, they can sprain their leg, break their ankle. I mean, it's just not right. I don't know why people do this. Now that's not an ATV. Someone drove a truck in there. And we've done it a couple times. We've gone up there and patched it. And of course, then it settles down, you have to go back. But you know, we can't be up there constantly trying to fix something that shouldn't have been broken in the first place. And, you know, look at, our kids here deserve better than what someone is doing. Now, this isn't no little kid. This isn't someone under the age of 15, okay? This is someone older. They could have stole their parents' car if they're 16 maybe, but this is definitely somebody older doing this. And why? You tell me. You know, what they get the kicks out of knocking over the garbage cans. Here's more damage as well. All the same location, knocking over the soda machine. You know, Coke, Pepsi, whoever owns those machines, we basically lease them in a sense. You know, we get a portion of the revenues generated. They're eventually not going to put the damn thing up there. You're not going to go there and get a soft drink. Why? Because someone knocks it over. They're not going to put it in. You know how many porta potty places don't even want to come to our town and many other towns because of the vandalism? And they knock them over, they spray paint them. They don't want to deal with this anymore. Not just us, but many other towns. It's just ridiculous that this goes on. So, I don't know what more I can say to you, but if you do see any type of vandalism going on, whether it's your neighbor's house or any of the ball fields, you know, we do deserve better. We try. We don't have the greatest resources in the world. Our fields are in fairly good shape, but if they continue to run all over them, they used to do it up at Volunteer Park. You know, we used to try to lock the gate, but then you had to hire someone to lock the gates every night. I mean, for what? And believe it or not, a lot of that damage at Scalpino Park, we had it locked the entire year. 1 week after we unlocked that gate, where someone could drive in there, they did that damage. So I don't know what more we can do. Alls I know, it's costing you and I extra money, and please, if you see someone, just call the police. That's all I can ask.
Don't they have neighborhood watch over there?
Look, it's not in a good neighborhood.
You know what, in New York, I belong to a block association.
Okay,
I was
if
vice
you-
president, I
Okay.
wouldn't permit that kind of crap going.
Well,
I mean, you know, you would have to,
just come up so everyone can hear what you're saying, please.
oh,
Yes, come on.
yeah,
You're a teacher, you want to be heard.
no. We're just having a conversation.
Yeah, but the public wants to hear it. Your words of wisdom, come on, get up here.
No, because this kind of, there's a small group always. In New York, we had the same thing. And, you know, a group of kids that are out for no good, there's no doubt about it. But the only way to prevent it, and we did this as a block association. I was vice president of that, and my landlord was president, and we had a lot of this stuff taking place. But it meant that we literally, for a few nights, we were up all night. We got we got the guys who did it, and that's what has to happen. If this is a community over here, they have to gather themselves together. And yes, it's a sacrifice, but they have to take responsibility. And the same thing goes for all of our parks. I know in Hunter's Glen we got rid of some of our and they were teenagers. That's all. They were teenagers, and probably Facebook or whatever. But I think neighbors getting together to protect their property is. That is the only way, because you can't get the police over here. They got other things to do. And but I thought the neighborhood watch program, block associations or condominium associations, I'm a great believer in that. And again, it may take a little bit of time, but you'll get them. You'll get them.
I can't wait.
No,
I can't wait.
That'd be nice to catch.
Thanks.
yeah, because
You get restitution.
And 2 years ago, they really did it.
Yes, absolutely. The parents.
Yeah. Well, 2 years ago, they did some job on Pump House building. They broke almost every window in the building. And I just don't get it. You try to do and, make things nice for them, and they do what they do. It's a sign of times.
The psychology of these young kids.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll second it.
No, I entertain. I don't want to leave, I like this.
Come on, you can stand in
Well,
for
Edwin's
Edwin.
not here, though.
Yeah,
I
you can
know.
stand in for Edwin.
I'll make a motion that we end the meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all for coming this evening.